Yo, what's good everyone? We get to choose our free standard 5-star soon, and I've seen a lot of you are considering picking Dehya, which makes sense. No amount of whitewashing is going to stop me from playing this unit, but she's genuinely strong now. We're going to look at a timeline of how Dehya's improved since her release, and we'll use it to inform us on how to build her and her teams for 5.0, including her synergies with Kinich and Mualani. So while she's better now, and we'll get onto that in a minute, when she released, people were underwhelmed with her for several reasons. She had low on-field damage relative to other DPSs. Damage mitigation rather than a shield or team healing meant that while she is a sustain unit, she's not the comfiest in the game. This wouldn't have been bad if there was a benefit to the trade-off, but her off-field damage from her skill is low too. Talking about her skill, its duration is only 12 seconds in comparison to the 15 seconds of Toma's burst. Toma's C2 also increases that duration by 3 seconds, making Dehya an inferior burgeon trigger. Also, the attacks in her burst don't trigger the bursts of other units like Yelan and Xing Cho. Realistically, on a release, she'd work in 2 teams. Firstly, a monopyro team with Kazuha, Xiangling and Bennett. Her burst only lasting 4 seconds though made her worse than Klee in that role, who, despite people thinking she's a vape unit, is actually better in monopyro. The second team was a reverse melt team where you'd use Ganyu, Nahida, Dehya and Bennett. The idea is to keep a burning aura so Ganyu can melt her hits for big damage. Dehya had value over Xiangling here because of a resistance to interruption, helping Ganyu get her charge attacks off. Luckily for us, she has improved since she launched with the release of newer units and artifact sets. So let's look at these buffs. When she released, we said that an artifact set tailored towards her would make her better. Virukash's Glow came out in 3.6 and did just that with one major caveat: you need a C4. This obviously was a kick in the balls because without the C4 you're going to struggle for energy, making 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fate better. 4.0 saw the release of Linny, which gave Dehya a third team. Linny wants resistance to interruption and doesn't want to be in the enemy's face, so Xiangling wasn't always hitting the enemy. Dehya has genuine value as an alternative because she gives resistance to interruption, and she can also hold tenacity of the Millilith to give Linny even more attack. She can hold sacrificial greatsword to cover her skill's downtime too. Nuvalet dropped in 4.1 with a passive that encourages using him in teams with different elements. Dehya's a good pyro option with resistance to interruption, and then you can bring Dendro and Anemo for Burgeon and Viridescent Venera Shred. The lack of healing doesn't matter to Nuvalet because he self-heals anyway. He just needs the resistance to interruption. Farina came out a patch later as a strong sub-DPS for Dehya teams, also offering Dehya extra damage from a passive, and with them both scaling off HP, it gives you a unique way to build vape teams. Attack scaling vape teams used to be the only way to go with units like Child, Kazuha, Xiangling and Bennett, but swapping out Xiangling for Dehya, Child for Farina, then Kazuha for either Mona or Candice, gives you a HP variant of it while freeing up some good units for the other side of the Abyss. The Hydro Resonance given HP benefits Farina, Dehya and Candice a lot. I don't think it's as strong as the Child National team, but Child National's been one of the best teams in the game for a long time, so the fact that they're comparable is a positive. 4.3 gave us Chevrus, who buffed Pyro and Electro teams, which opened up the door for a bunch of new Dehya teams. Basically, Chevrus's passive shreds the opponent's resistance to Pyro and Electro by 40% after a teammate triggers overloaded, and Chevrus's constellations offer even more value. A C1 gives the on-field character energy, C4 gives 2 extra uses of a skill, and yes, she's also a sub-DPS, not just a buffer, so this contributes a lot to the team. Her C6 gives 20% elemental damage when a teammate's healed by a skill, which can stack 3 times. Because she's this good, obviously they're gatekeeping her and making us wait for eternity for a rerun. Typical Hoyoverse. What you're seeing on screen is a C0 Chevrus though, so it still beats endgame content. Emily is on the current banner and she gives us yet another Dehya teammate. Emily, being a burning unit and also French, wants for things to be on fire, so Dehya's application on or off field is appreciated. It's a similar team to the Mono Pyro team using Kazuha, Xiangling and Bennett, except Emily brings a unique bit of value. For situations where the enemy has low HP, you don't want to pop your burst because you might not get them back in time for the next chamber. If the HP is too high to get down with Dehya, Kazuha, Xiangling and Bennett's skills though, you might have to pop someone's burst. With Emily being able to have constant uptime on a skill, you don't need to worry about that though. Now let's talk about the Natlan units, Mualani and Kinich, and how they synergize with Dehya. Bringing Emily and Dehya with us for the burning aura means there'll be constant pyro on the enemy for Mualani to get some big vapes off. Nahida can hold Deepwood for Emily and give elemental mastery to Mualani from a burst and the Dendro resonance. This means you don't have to build any elemental mastery into Mualani's kit. I like Dehya in this team for constant pyro, but she can also use a burst during Mualani's downtime, and then you can make full use of Dehya's kit. I think we'll call this the Zoo team because we have a shark, a canary, a lion and a French woman. Swapping Nahida out for another Hydro unit like Candice or Mona will buff Mualani and give us the Hydro resonance for extra HP. While Mualani benefits from this, so does Dehya, which makes running an energy recharge sounds on Dehya less punishing if you don't have the energy from your substats. Dehya can also work as an off-field pyro applicator for Kinich. In burning teams, she's not a downgrade to Xiangling, because Xiangling loses a lot of damage anyway from not vaping. In Burgeon teams, she's not a downgrade to Toma, because she can benefit from the attack Bennett brings, while also providing the pyro resonance for even more. Dehya has resistance to interruption over Xiangling, and she can hold Deepwood to help Kinich deal more damage. A lot of people neglect bringing a Deepwood holder in their Dendro teams, but it's like neglecting Viridescent Venera in teams where you bring in Anemo units anyway. Deepwood's going into the Strongbox in 5.0, so don't sleep on it. The final Dehya buff we'll talk about for now is the new Natlan support set, Scroll of a Hero. The 2-piece gives Dehya 6 energy when a Natlan character uses a Night Soul burst, which is useful for teams with Natlan characters because Dehya does need energy. For the 4-piece, when Dehya triggers a reaction, it gives 12% elemental damage to the entire team for the elements involved in the reaction. Take the Ganyu team for example. Start with Ganyu's skill to apply Cryo, now Dehya's skill to apply Pyro. Ganyu now gets 12% Cryo damage. Also, we'll have to see how the set works in 5.0, but as far as we know, there's nothing that explicitly states it can't buff more than 2 elements. For example, Mualani, Nahida, Emily and Dehya. Start with a Mualani normal attack into Dehya's skill, and now both Hydro and Pyro are buffed. If you now apply Dendro with Nahida and Emily and Dehya's skill ticks, does this buff Dendro as a 3rd element? We'll have to wait and see, but if so, this could be cracked. Okay, so we've had a look at how she's been buffed since the release, and along the way we've looked at her different teams. Now let's look at how you should build her. In terms of weapons for her on-field playstyle, his signature Beacon of Ariti will be best, but we can't obtain it until the Chronicled Wish banner comes back. Bear in mind, this isn't guaranteed to happen given the fact it's been gone since 4.5. Wolf's Gravestone's a strong choice for a lot of attack, which lets you then run her on a HP or energy recharge sands, while also buffing the team's attack. Anything with attack's going to be solid on her to be honest, like Akumaru, the craftable Tidal Shadow, or even the Ultimate Overlord for attack and energy recharge. As an off-field support, Favonius Greatsword gives energy, Sacrificial Greatsword gives you more skill uptime, and the Bell, even though it's a massive meme, gives more survivability. For Burgeon, just go anything with Elemental Mastery. All but one of her artifact options will be available in the Strongbox in 5.0. Emblem is in it now, and I recommend that for Dehya at C0 to C3. Virukash's Glow is the best for on-field damage from C4 and onwards. Support sets like Tenacity and Deepwood are in there too if you have any teams where you want her to offer their buffs. You could even go Marishosei if you're running her with Farina. For Burgeon damage, Gilded Dreams and Flower of Paradise Lost are coming to the Strongbox too. The only set not in there that you might want on her is Scroll of a Hero, but it'll be better on Natlan supports anyways, we get more of them. Overall, I was a big critic of Dehya when she released, but it was more out of disappointment. I love her design and wanted her to be strong more than any other Sumeru unit, but she just wasn't. Now with all the improvements we just talked about, she's a genuinely good unit, flexible, works at C0, can hold Strongbox artifacts for newer players. She has value if you pick her as your anniversary 5-star. I dropped guides for Kachina, Kinich and Mualani over the weekend, and I plan to drop more pre-Natlan videos. Subscribe to the channel if you're interested in them, and take it easy.